I still encounter people that push Russia collusion, and it's mind-blowing because there's so much out there that most people are unaware of. So first off, the Ratcliffe declassification. Even many Trump supporters are unaware of some of this material and resources that are out there. The media made a big deal about the Mueller report, but nobody read the actual Mueller report. Most people's knowledge of it comes from a USA Today article, which invented their own version of reality that they wanted to have happen. And usually when you're in debate with someone about the Mueller report, they'll cite to you the USA Today report, and when you ask them to furnish which section from the actual Mueller report, they'll continuously sidestep. But on this Office of the Director of National Intelligence, DNI, they have the 53 transcripts that happened. Check out some of the dates on these. Look at this. 2018, 2017, 2018, 2017. In these, I call these essentially confessions, because if you read some of these, they ask, did you have any real evidence for Russia collusion? And under oath, they say no. And what I discovered there is you could lie on TV and get away with it. You just can't lie under oath. But the TV is what everybody sees, so they lied on TV, and then under oath, they tell the truth. Take a glance at these. Just look at the volume. You would think that the media would have spent at least a week covering what's in here, but they don't. So it's up to you to inform yourself so that when people try to push Russia collusion, you could say, hey, not only is it not true, but you have some of this stuff from 2017 and 2018, and you have to remember, Russia collusion didn't conclude until 2019 with like the third Mueller hearing. Not only that, the Mueller indictment, which I did a video on my Tinfoil Politics channel, I'll link that. When I read the indictment, because that came out first, that was the very first thing. Everyone's like, oh yeah. So I read the indictment. The indictment says, and at the time they were saying there was election interference. They hacked the elections. So I thought Russian hackers literally hacked the election ballot boxes. That's not what it meant. What it meant was, it was John Podesta or somebody was spearphished by some Russian hacker. And it really wasn't even a hacker. It was just some phishing that was sent out. And some idiot in the DNC office clicked the phishing link and gave up the username and password. So in theory, if you give someone your username and password, they're not really hacking into you. They socially engineered you and gained access to your system. But that's not even what leaked all the stuff to WikiLeaks. Because there's a guy named Bill Binney. Bill Binney, who worked for the NSA, said there was no hack of the Democrat National Committee system on July 5th last year, not by the Russians, not by anyone else. Hard science now demonstrates it was a leak, a download executed locally with a memory key or a similarly portable data storage device. In short, it was an inside job by someone with access to the DNC's system. This casts serious doubt on the initial hack, as alleged. That led to the very consequential publication of a large store of documents on WikiLeaks last summer. So there's theories on who it was. The public was told it was Guccifer 2.0. Most people think it was Seth Rich or Awan Irwin. This is the Grassley memo by Senator Chuck Grassley. I'll link this as well. This was like one of the first counters, the first discussions about the FISA abuse. So this is a 2018, early January 2018 document. This was the Horowitz report. Now, they spent all the time on the Mueller report, but hardly any on the Horowitz report. So in this has all the policy violations and all the abuse that was done. Barely any coverage of this in the news. And most people are unaware this even exists. That's why I'm presenting it, and it's linked. You could have it. You could peruse this. I mean, it's 400-something pages. How could the media not cover this? How could 400 pages have nothing of substance? Just to throw some fun in it, we have the kernel drops. These are the corn comms. I don't know who makes these, but they're sure funny. And this had to do with Comey's name being spelt corny, Corney. So if you ran like a FOIA, you wouldn't find anything on Comey. Everything was under Corny. At the time, Devin Nunes and Chuck Grassley were making all these corn references in their tweets. The corn is now ripe for harvest. James Comey is the corn. James Corney is the corn. So I think it was the OIG report where Comey was spelled corny. So it looks like they fixed it. At this point, they changed corny to Comey because it's showing 148. But when this first came out, if you typed in Comey, there was no results. You'd have to type in corny. And it appears that they haven't cleared up all the corny references because I typed in corny. There's still 14 left. Director Corny. Even though Corny looks like Comey, it's pretty slick. And if you look on QMAP, you got James Corney will be served justice. More James Corney references found in DOJ documents. No errors. Corney misspelling was intentional in OIG report. Corney 480 times, Comey 0 times. It's pretty scary though, because this appears unchangeable and they're able to modify these documents. So this is on some memory hole recreation of reality. I hope I have the original saved somewhere. Also, in the Mueller report, they do cover Seth Rich on one of the pages. This is page 48. It mentions Assange and WikiLeaks, and they say that Assange was wrong.
Whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material, and often very significant risks. As a 27-year-old works for the DNC, who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago. For unknown reasons, as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean.
We don't comment on who our sources are.
But why make the suggestion about a young guy being shot in the streets of Washington?
Because we have to understand how high the stakes are in the United States, and that our sources are, our sources face serious risks. That's why they come to us, so we can protect their anonymity.
But it's quite something to suggest a murder. That's basically what you're doing.
Well, that others have suggested that. We are investigating to understand what happened in that situation with Seth Rich. I think it is a concerning situation. There's not a conclusion yet. We wouldn't be willing to state a conclusion, but we are concerned about it. And more importantly, a variety of WikiLeaks sources are concerned when that kind of thing happens.
And look how it's stated here. Beginning in the summer of 2016, Assange and WikiLeaks made a number of statements about Seth Rich, a former DNC staff member who was killed in July 2016. The statements about Rich implied falsely that he had been the source of the stolen DNC emails. Well, how do they know? How do they know it was false? So this is page 61, all right, so here's where it gets good. Some of these contacts were met with skepticism and nothing came of them. Others were pursued to some degree. The investigation did not find evidence that the Trump campaign recovered any such Clinton emails or that these contacts were part of a coordinated effort between Russia and the Trump campaign. So you know how they're always talking about election interference? This describes election interference. On October 7, 2016, 4 days after the Assange press conference, the Washington Post published an Access Hollywood video that captured comments by candidate Trump some years earlier and that was expected to adversely affect the campaign. The key words here were that were expected to adversely affect the campaign. Now, whatever, I say campaign is campaigning, but it's driven me nuts when they talked about that Russia hacked the election. What ended up happening was Clinton and Podesta's dirty laundry was aired out to the world to see, and they're saying that that was election interference, that people got to find out that Hillary and Podesta were corrupt and all kinds of other stuff. So they put everybody on trial and held the whole country up for 3 years for that. That's what the hack was. The hack was Podesta and Clinton's emails. But they shaped it so that you couldn't even think on that level. So that's what I wanted to cover here. I wanted to point out that there's 53 transcripts on the DNI site. The link is below. I wanted to point out the Grassley memo, the Horowitz OIG report, which had the Comey misspellings. I want to let you know about the Corn Chans, the Corn Watch. If you're not aware of the Corn Watch, do a hashtag Corn Watch. I also wanted to bring up the Mueller indictment, not the report, but the Mueller indictment that the actual hack was a spearfish campaign. Somebody gave their username and password to some Russians. That was the big hack. And I wanted to point out the Bill Binney report where he looked at the data rates of the data transfer, and the speed was only the speed that could go to like a USB stick or something plugged directly into the computer, not consistent with the physics of transmitting data to Russia from the United States. So those are that. Everything will be linked below. I just want you to be informed on how to combat Russia collusion for the few people that still push Russia. The media still pushes it. I'm sure Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will still talk it, and then their fans will then repeat it. These are resources for you to use, government hard resources, plus or others that are based on science and data rates and actual statistics, metrics, measurable parts of reality. Not hearsay, not a USA Today report where they invent their own version of reality, but the real stuff. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.